As play wraps up in Canada, the Cincinnati Open is off and running, where Naomi Osaka faced her earliest tournament exit in a long time, losing in the final round of qualifying. While this is undoubtedly a setback for the Japanese star, are her US Open prospects truly in jeopardy? I'll delve into this and look at the Cincinnati Open draws and give some predictions. Hey, my name is Christian Bassnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. If you have not yet already, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post more Cincinnati Open updates as the tournament progresses, as well as help me reach my goal of making it to 20K subscribers before the US Open starts. Now, before I get into all things Cincinnati, I do want to cover bases in Canada for that joint 1000 tournament there. Jessica Pegula became the first woman to defend the National Bank Open since Martina Hingis did in 2000. She beat compatriot Amanda Anisimova 6-3, 2-6, 6-1. The win marks Pegula's 6th WTA title in third 1000. Pegula took advantage of a weaker field in Toronto, and she did not face a player ranked inside the top 20 all week, but taking nothing away from her though, she played great tennis and fully deserved the title. Anisimova meanwhile took care of 4 top 20 players in a row en route to her first WTA 1000 final, beating Daria Kasatkina, Anna Kalinskaya, Aryna Sabalenka, and Emma Navarro. The 22-year-old has dealt with a lot in her career, so I'm just happy to see her back playing great tennis and back in this big stage of being in a big final like this, and she'll also rise 83 spots to get back inside the world's top 50 to 49. Meanwhile, in Montreal, we got a surprise champion in 62nd ranked Alexei Popyrin. Popyrin defeated 5 top 20 players en route to the title, including Andrei Rublev in the final. He outclassed the Russian Rublev 6-2, 6-4 to claim his 3rd ATP career title. He's also the first Aussie male to win a 1000 tournament since Leighton Hewitt claimed the 2003 Indian Wells title. Rublev was the considerable favorite coming into this final. He had more experience, he won a Masters 1000 before, especially in this year, and he had beaten the world number 1 Jannik Sinner in the quarterfinals. He also spent 3 hours less on court compared to Popyrin on Sunday, who had to play both his quarterfinals and semifinal matches that same day. But Andre started off this match horribly, and he got broken at love. Popyrin, meanwhile, served very well in this final as he made 59% of his first serves in the box, and he won 84% of points behind that first serve. The forehand was also a major weapon for Popyrin, and he also defended that backhand, his weaker backhand, very well, and withstood the barrage of big forehands from Rublev nicely. Popyrin was also clutch in saving break points throughout this match. He only conceded 1 break, which was in the middle of the second set, when Rublev broke to tie things at 3-all. At this point, I thought the Russian might take control, but credit to Popyrin for not letting up one bit and breaking right back immediately. To put into context how amazing this title run is, Popyrin is the first man to claim 5 top 20 wins in one single tournament since Novak Djokovic won the 2022 ATP Finals. Popyrin's wins included victories over Ben Shelton, Grigor Dimitrov, who he saved 3 match points against, Hubert Hurkacz, and Sebastian Korda, and then of course too, Andrei Rublev. This screenshot by my mutual Vanja on Twitter is the embodiment of the Aussie's clutchness all week. He'll leave Canada with a deserved career high ranking of 23 in the world and is practically guaranteed a seed for the US Open. Popyrin is only 25, he just turned 25 this week actually, but he's been around for a long minute it seems like, especially he's a former Junior Slam champion, and I knew he was talented as he's gotten a few good wins on the tour, but he never really did anything too big at the big tournaments, of course, until now. It's also just refreshing and great to see a new face, especially on the men's side, take a big title like 1000 like this. Congratulations, Alexei, and of course, congratulations to you, Jesse, on defending your title. Now, Naomi Osaka did not have a winning Monday as she fell in the final round of qualifying at the Cincinnati Open to 64th ranked Ashlyn Kruger by a score of 6-3, 2-6, 6-3. Osaka led Kruger 3-1 in the decider and was bidding to claim her first come-from-behind win since her maternity leave, but Kruger just remained too solid, and Osaka, as she has done throughout most of this comeback, sprayed far too many errors at the end of the match to just kind of give it away. This is the first time that Naomi has played qualifying in 6 years when she came through to make the main draw of the 2018 Qatar Open. I do commend her for not being afraid to step back and play in the qualifying, especially with her being as accomplished as she is. There have been no details as to why she was not awarded a wild card into the tournament. I think she was deserved of one, especially considering how Caroline Wozniacki got one. And, she hasn't done much of anything her comeback. Still, a lot of fans were saying that Naomi was in the trenches and that it was just horrible for her and that she lost in the qualifying, and it's definitely not where she wants to be, losing in the qualies of tournaments. And I think it's definitely going to be a humbling moment for her for sure. But I do think that this could be the big wake-up call that she needs to really turn things around in this comeback. Naomi has kind of been at a plateau during this comeback, and I actually think her biggest breakthrough moment came in the clay season, where she made, I believe, the round of 16 in Rome, and then of course she came within a point of knocking out the eventual Roland Garros champion, Iga Swiatek. She did relatively okay in the grass as far as making the quarterfinal in Schott-Hagenbosch, but aside from that, it's just been kind of low-key downhill since that tournament. I do not think that this specific loss against Kruger is a terrible loss at all. Ashland is very talented, and she beat Leylah Fernandez last week in Toronto, and I'm not surprised that Naomi lost to her at all. As I mentioned earlier, I think this can be a necessary loss for Naomi, and I kind of compare it to maybe what Serena Williams had to face at the 2007 Australian Open. She lost early to a lower-ranked player in a lead-up tournament before that Australian Open started, and a lot of critics weren't giving her much of a shot, and she went on to win the title. The chances of that happening at the US Open are very, very slim, but you never know, anything could happen. I know this is not the summer hardcourt swing Naomi imagined by any means, and she said that she felt like Sailor Moon when she stepped onto the surface again last week. But until she makes those necessary hard fixes in her game and becomes more consistent overall from the ground and on that return, she'll continue to have lackluster results. Now, looking at the full women's draw here in Cincinnati, Iga, of course, is at the top, and she could once again face Linda Noskova in the third round. Swiatek, though, is projected to meet Marta Kostyuk in that third round, but that is a tough little section there, as even surprise Wimbledon quarterfinalist Lulu Sun could be a threat. Below that, we have a popcorn match right off the bat between Emma Navarro and Mira Andreeva. Jasmine Paolini looms as a possible third-round opponent for either woman, but you can't forget about Karolina Pliskova either, a former champion. Navarro has had the best form as of late when you consider the summer hardcourt swing, as she made the semifinals in Toronto, so I'm more leaning towards her and coming through and facing Paolini in the third round. I think that Emma will avenge her Wimbledon loss and face Swiatek in the quarterfinal. Between Swiatek and Navarro, I am going to be going with a surprise pick and having Navarro advance. This will be Iga's first tournament on hardcourt in a while, and while she is amazing on the surface, I think that it will take her some time to get used to these surfaces and the conditions after playing the Olympics, especially on the clay. Now, next, third seed Aryna Sabalenka has had a so-so hardcourt swing. She made the semifinals at DC in the City Open there, and then she made the quarterfinals of Toronto, and she won 2 matches apiece in those tournaments. She's not in her best form at all, and she could face Amanda Anisimova in the third round, the same woman who dispatched her badly in Toronto. Amanda, though, has a tough opener in Victoria Azarenka, who I think will prevail there, due to, I think, Azarenka will be the more refreshed out of the two. There was a lot of tennis. Anisimova not only played in Toronto, but she also made the quarterfinals in DC. Elina Svitolina is also a potential third-round opponent for Sabalenka. Shout out to Robin Montgomery for qualifying too. She could meet Big Lenka in the second round. Looking a bit lower, Ludmila Samsonova looks solid in Toronto, making the quarterfinals. I honestly think that she has the best shot here at making the semifinals, despite Slam champions Bianca Andreescu and Yelena Ostapenko being present. Samsonova will be my pick to make the Final Four. Elena Rybakina will be playing her first tournament since Wimbledon, where she made the semifinals, as she withdrew from the Olympics citing another illness. She could face Olympic silver medalist Donna Vekic in the third round, and Rybakina will likely open against Leylah Fernandez, which will be an interesting match. Also in this section is Princess Diana Schneider, who is now inside the top 20. She'll be looking to hand Auntie Shuai Zhang the longest losing streak in tennis history at 22. Up top is reigning Toronto champion Jessica Pegula, who might meet Karolina Muchova, which could be a tricky opener. There's also the battle of the compatriots and Caroline Dolehide and Taylor Townsend going up against each other, and then Daria Kasatkina and Ekaterina Alexandrova, those Russians, playing playing against each other. Shout out to Taylor Townsend too for just her grind lately. She's played 8 singles matches in the past 8 days, and she reached the quarterfinals in Toronto as a qualifier before racing to Cincinnati to win her 2 qualifying matches. I think I might go with Pegula here to reach the semifinals. I was leaning a bit more towards Rybakina at first because of course she is talented, but I think that it might be too soon to expect something decent from her with this being her first tournament back in a minute. Defending champion Coco Gauff's section is the last one to look at, and it is intriguing for sure. Gauff, by the way, is not only defending her title here, but her number 2 ranking. If she does not at least make the semifinals here, Aryna Sabalenka will overtake the American as the world number 2 heading into the US Open, which could be crucial. Up top is reigning gold medalist Qinwen Zhang, and I think that she has a solid draw as no one here, besides maybe Maria Boskova, has been in great form lately. Gauff, meanwhile, has a challenging draw for sure. She could open against Yulia Putintseva, who has gotten some good results this year. She's guaranteed to have a tough third rounder in either Anna Kalinskaya, Katerina Siniakova, Peyton Stearns, and Paula Badosa, who won the DC City Open a couple weeks ago. I think that Gauff will play Stearns, who had a solid quarterfinal run in Toronto. I know Coco is not very confident in her game at the moment at all, and I think that I will be going with Stearns to get the upset and progress all the way to the semifinals. I know that's a very bold pick, but hey, why not? Now, going over my predictions, I will be having in the semifinals, of course, Emma Navarro and Ludmila Samsonova face off, as well as the 2 Americans, Jessica Pegula and Peyton Stearns. And then in the finals, I have a battle of the billionaires with Emma Navarro coming out on top. I know this prediction is just a mess, and I'm really not that confident in it at all. Just don't judge me, y'all. Just let's move on. Now, looking at the men's draw, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are our 2 top seeds. Novak Djokovic chose not to play this event in order to rest and prepare for the US Open. Sinner could play Tallon Griekspoor in the second round, and that will be their 4th meeting this year. Jannik is projected to meet Andrei Rublev once again in this quarterfinal, but the Russian would likely have to get by Taylor Fritz first. Andrei, though, might be on upset alert as he's guaranteed to have a tough opener in either Zhang Zhizhen or Giovanni Impecci Petitcard. I think I'm going to go with Taylor Fritz here to progress to the semifinals. He does have a tough opener in Brandon Nakashima, who's playing well at the moment, but I think that if he can get by Brandon, I think he has a great shot here at going deep Taylor. Sinner also is not at 100% right now as he was dealing with a right hip injury in Montreal. And then Rublev could be a bit gassed too from going deep in that Montreal tournament and could definitely lose early. 2022 champion Alexander Zverev will start against Karen Khachanov. He could then meet Sebi Korda in the 3rd round, who beat him in Montreal. Ben Shelton and Grigor Dimitrov are on a clear collision course for a 3rd round meeting. Dimitrov is a former champion himself here as he won this title in 2017. I thought he played well in Montreal, and of course he was close to beating the eventual champion Popyrin. I think he'll avenge that disappointment with a deep run here in Cincy, so I'm putting him through to the semifinal. Of course, Ben Shelton or Alex Zverev could take that spot too. I do not really see Sebi Korda being a threat here, as I think that he'll be a bit too gassed from all the tennis he's played in this month. Next, at the top of Daniil Medvedev's section, Hubert Hurkacz will be happy that at least one seeded threat, Tommy Paul, is out as he lost to Flavio Cobolli, although Cobolli is definitely no chump change and the Italian has been playing great all summer. Medvedev will look to get himself back on track after disappointing showings at the Olympics and Montreal. He has a decent draw here though, but he'll need to hope that Lorenzo Musetti has lost a bit of his flame because the Italian has been on fire all summer, which includes making the Wimbledon semifinals and taking home the bronze at the Paris Games. Still, I think Hurkacz will be my pick to move through here. And then lastly, looking at last year's finalist Carlos Alcaraz's section, I think that it's a very good one for the Spaniard. I think that it really would allow him to play himself into form. He could meet Alexei Popyrin in that second round, but I do think the Aussie will be too gassed to really make much of a true effort against the Spaniard. And then Gael Monfils, I don't think would be a threat to him at all. Carlos is projected to face Holger Rune in the 3rd round, but the Dane has a tough opener himself in Matteo Berrettini. Rune has been struggling all season, but he did look better in Montreal, where he fell to Alexander Zverev. I think that Rune could be possibly a threat to Carlitos, especially if he gets past the Italian, of course, and if Carlos is not on his game. Up top, FAA Felix Auger-Aliassime might play Casper Ruud in the second round, and he beat Casper at the Olympics too. Stefano Tsitsipas will be playing his first tournament since firing his father yet again. It will be interesting to see how he does, but I'm not expecting too much at all from the Greek man. I think there is a lot of opportunity in that top little part, and really this entire section, but sticking with the safe pick, I'll have Alcaraz progress to the Final Four. Looking at my predictions, I have in the semifinals Fritz and Dimitrov and Hurkacz Alcaraz, and then in the finals I'll have Dimitrov and Hurkacz, with Hurkacz taking the title. I do think that Alcaraz, of course, he has a good shot at taking this one. His draw looks decent, but I am worried about him with all the tennis that he has played this summer, going deep at the French, Wimbledon, and now the Olympics. Hubie, I picked him because he showed good form in Montreal, and I do think that he is ready to claim another big 1000 title. That is it for this update video, and let me know in the comments how you feel about Popyrin and Pegula's title runs in Canada. Also, who are your picks to win in Cincinnati? And do you think Naomi Osaka would be able to find her form before the year's final major? Again, make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you're notified whenever I post more content. Thank you all so much for your support, and I'll see y'all next time here on Christian's Court.